Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another breakdown. Today was a great day. Did pretty well in the New York session. We were able to grab sells and then we were able to grab the buys, and we're actually still currently holding buys right here. Right, and we were able to grab those down here. And earlier you saw me grab sells somewhere around this area here. Pretty simple day, pretty easy day in my opinion. Um, I'm gonna kind of go through it all the way from the beginning for you guys. So all of you should have this indicator, right? If you do not all have this indicator, please tell me, right? And if you don't know how to use it, it's fairly simple, right? So we wait for a yellow imbalance or purple imbalance to come in, right? All this is telling me is that sellers have entered the market, right? And this would allow, what this allows me to do is find my injection, right? So whatever we start with, we must end with. Since we're starting with a gray bar here and or a bullish candle, we must end with a bullish candle. That becomes my injection. Now, once I have my injection in, right, there are different phases to this injection. When we expand one time, right, we would go from phase one to phase two. So if I drag this over like so, here is phase one, this comes up to be phase two, right? And then this comes over here to be phase three. Now, phase one is the highest probability. Phase three is almost as probable as phase one, and phase two is the least probable. All right, so that's it for the daily injections. So now we can be looking either here or here for manipulation in the market, right? I also draw up trend lines. Why? These are also a good price action technique to pretty much find where price can stop hunt, such as these areas here for price to go higher. Now let's hop into the 4 hour. Before marking out any injections, right? The first thing I want to do is still mark out the external liquidity, right? And or structure. And for those in 101 or video mentorship, I go over how I draw in each and every one of these dots here to kind of mark up the structure points. Right, similar to the injections, right? My structure points are also forms of liquidity that need to get swept, right? So similar, right? The injections have phase one, phase two, phase three, right? Well, my structure points have a structural phase one, structural phase two, structural phase three, and we can see we have a clear reaction after structural phase three. Here again, we have structural phase one, structural phase two, and then here we enter structural phase three. Now, after we get our external structure, right, we want to mark out our internal structure on the 4 hour. All of this internally is liquidity. There will be a brand new video on structure for the video mentorship and 101s where I'm going to go over how to draw and structure a little bit more accurately, because a lot of you have asked me to go over that. Here are all our inducements from the 4 hour, right? What is the most recent structural sweep? We have this, so we know we are in a buyer's market from a structural standpoint. Now I want to put in my 4 hour injections and see what I have. I see that I have this injection on the 4 hour and make my 4 hour injections purple. All right, let's go over this for the people that are new in the Discord mentorship. Gray, black, black, gray. So that creates this injection. We can see that this injection was swept. All right, so this now enters phase two. Drag that over. And here we have another impulse, black, gray, black, which creates this injection. Here we can clearly see this was swept right down to here. And during New York, look, we came back to retest this area again. Right, and that's how we got into longs into EU down here. It was actually based off this injection. So how do we know to start selling at the beginning of the session? Well, We need to start selling because of what? Our most recent sweep of the injection was here, right? So this doesn't mean anything anymore because this was our most recent sweep, right? Because this was our most recent sweep, we can expect price in the intraday to start selling off at first. Okay, now we can bring this back in. Now I want to show you the difference. Look at the difference. This is internal liquidity of the injection. This is all external liquidity of the injection. Notice how we have this internal injection and we have this external injection here, right? So basing our analysis off this, if we stop under the internal injection, only short term are we finding sells, right? Because eventually we want to stop hunt around these areas for price that then come up and then stop hunt this, right? So I showed one of my students before, we should sell off to this point here, buy up to here, maybe sell off again, and or sell off a little bit and then pop up again, right? That's kind of what I was predicting for quite a while now. I expected this to happen in today's session. So that's pretty much how I was able to identify these moves. All of this was done just by looking at the daily and 4-hour, right? I knew my intraday direction of the market by looking at my injections and where price has induced most recently. So yeah. Now that we got the 4-hour all marked up, now we can go to the hourly. I don't really care for hourly injections, although you can use them, right? So we would have had something like so here, we swept, right? If we were on the 10-minute, we would have been able, yeah, we actually would have been able to grab entries because this was a bearish engulfing. This retest ever so slightly, and it even gives you more opportunity right here as well. For sure, it's somewhere around 6:20 a.m. I wasn't awake then, so I wasn't able to grab those shorts. I'm not gonna break down London today. I'm just gonna do New York because that's what I traded, and I don't want to go searching for trades right now. But let's go ahead and mark up the hourly, right? Because I don't just mark up the 4-hour and daily structure. I also want to mark up my hourly structure. I want to get rid of the injection indicator and just put this, and we get rid of Asia too, so you all can see the price action a little cleaner. Here we make a high to low to high to low, right, to a new high. What can we see from all this? This is paired with the injection, right? So we have a structural phase and an injection. We also have an inducement right down here. We have a brand new inducement like so, right? Here we clearly have a break of structure. This came down, mitigated something down here for this to continue. We had another break of structure and or inducement, which caused price to sell off, right? Come back to this extreme to buy up again. Now what? After the 1 hour, I go into the 15-minute. Right, once I'm in the 15-minute, I like to turn on my session breaks to see previous day price action, right? So what did I have from previous day price action? Well, the 15-minute, right? Look something like this. What else? These were previous day lows. That's pretty important to have in there. Previous day lows. Didn't really matter because we swept all of this. Anyways, we swept 15-minute structure here, right? Swept 15-minute structure here. I'm going to go into in a little bit how to grab these entries once we sweep the structure. All right, now I'm going to bring up my Asian range, right, to kind of see what happened during London. Well, what happened during London? It looked like we came down, made these two extremes coming in. I used purple for current structure. Came down, made a new low, new high, and then during, right, New York, I saw price come and break these lows, right? So let's go into it. I'm just finish marking up the intraday. All right, first things first, daily cycle. What happened in London that's going to tell me what's most likely to happen in New York? Well, the first thing that happened was we were coming into Asia in a downtrend. All right, cool. So if we were trading London, excuse me. All right, so liquidity was building to the downside. right? And wherever liquidity is building towards is most likely where the stop hunts are going to occur out of the Asian range, right? So it's clear that we had the stop hunts out of the Asian range. What did London do? Came up, retested this midline, right? Came in and induced the midline, which it normally always does in a Asian range break and retest. So what do we have here? Daily cycle Asian range break and retest, right? Price was coming down. What did it do? Had another break of structure of these lows, right? One of you guys were asking me difference between continuation and reversals. Well, it's based off of the daily cycle, right? Daily cycle was showing me that we had a break and retest in London, right? And in Frankfurt. So I knew price was most likely going to continue in the beginning of the New York session. You can use a 15-minute time frame, 10-minute time frame, 5-minute time frame, doesn't matter. What you need to do is find the first touch of this inducement, right? The first sweep or touch of this inducement, right? What happened? This came down, touched it. Where was the candle that caused the break, right? This candle was the break. What candle caused the break? This one, right? Because of that, on the 10-minute, I took that as like my OB. Like so, right? All of you that know how to enter open, high, low, close know that our possible entries would have been here, right? The sweep, whatever this candle swept, right? So here, here, and then of course the low, that candle, right? These were your possible entries. We would have got these two here. I only took one entry. I just took the immediate hit of the OB, and price ended up shorting. How did I stack? I was able to stack by just doing continual order flow for the most part. So basically what that means is I took the next OB that caused the break of this candle's low, right? So as soon as we had a break of this candle's low, right? What caused it? This candle right here. So all I did was bring that across, right? And I was able to get more re-entries here and here, right? So here and here, I was able to get more re-entries to the downside. It's very simple again here. Price makes another brand new low. We break it. What broke it? This candle here. We just never had re-entries to take more sells, right? So that's kind of how I took continuations out of the Asian range, right? So where was my target? My first target was this structural low on the 15-minute. I knew just from a fundamental standpoint that normally whenever there's NFP on Friday, usually Monday takes out NFP lows. That was also giving me hints onto directional bias, right? My overall, again, where did I know to grab sells from was from the 4-hour where he had stop hunts out of the injection, telling me that bearish momentum was continuing into the market. Let's look back here a little bit. Here we have a sweep of these lows and a sweep of these lows. And we've also taken out previous day lows right here, right? Again, I was still just focused on the 10-minute. I didn't really want to go into any other time frame. You know, I could go back into these entries and find even more refined entries if I truly want to on the minute. Am I going to? No, I'm too fucking lazy, to be honest. Like the goal of trading is just to make a profit, right? Like if you're making 5-10% a day on an FTMO funded account, it's 5-10 grand. It's nothing to complain about. So if we come down here, right, we see that we've clearly swept, right? Where was the breaker, right? This candle was the first touch. This was the first, so this candle was the first to touch. That means this candle was the breaker, right? So yeah, you could have re-entered more shorts right here, right? I didn't, right? It was too far down in the trend, but yeah, you could have entered more shorts right down here. Price comes, touches this right here. Where was the breaker? Of course, this candle here. Why aren't we focused on, and why didn't I enter shorts here, right? You could have. Why didn't I enter shorts? Well, it's based off of the daily cycle and what I just pretty much told you, right? We had a sweep of not only, now my computer's freezing. Give me a second. I'm sorry. All right. So we not only had a sweep of 15-minute structure, but previous day lows, like I said before, and based off of the daily cycle, we need to know that New York eventually needs to take out Asian highs. And what have we only done? break and retest all the way down to here, right? First objective, right? Second objective, that's what we should always look for. And then here, this is going to continue to run, right? First objective, second objective. If you haven't watched my video on lit templates on YouTube, definitely watch that, as that kind of goes over this blueprint. All right, so how did I get into the buys, right? Well, considering that my bias has now switched from sells to buys, right? I've now completely liquidated my sell position, right? And like I said, look through the time frames, 13-minute, 15-minute. I know people that love the 13-minute, right? What do we have? We have a nice rejection candle, right? Look at the price action. I'm not entering as soon as it sweeps. I'm looking at the price action first, right? Remember, I've told people after our bullish engulfing candle, right? If the low is lower than the bullish engulfing candle, where's our refinement? It's the sweep of the bullish engulfing low, right? So your entry is where? Right here. And that goes for the 10-minute, 15-minute, 13-minute, it doesn't matter. I used the 13-minute and 9-minute for this entry, right? I can show you what the 9-minute looks like, right? I was trying to get a sweep above below here at first, but I couldn't. That's all right. I switched to 13-minute solid refinement right here. Was able to grab these at around 4 pips, right? Yeah, I could have hopped into the 1 minute and probably figured out a way to tighten my stop, and or just took this OB right here, understanding that all this was built up as well, right? And could have gotten it even tinier, but I like to be safe, right? Because you never know, price might come and try and wick this one more time. So either way, we still got a sniper entry. It was still a great entry to go ahead and grab these buys that I'm actually still going to hold. I want to go ahead and take out this right here. I'm going to continue buying. I'm not entirely sure if we had a proper sweep of these lows, right? It's kind of hard to tell. Considering that we didn't have a proper sweep of these lows, price still might need to come down, sweep liquidity one more time before coming up and sweeping the upper liquidity, right? So until that happens, we got some time. Did I re-enter? I did, not on my main account, on another account. Where could have we re-entered? Well, let's keep in mind structure again, right? We come back here. Here's another structure point. This is doable. We could consider that a structure point as well. So let's bring this out here, right? And this out over here. What happened, right? Where was the candle that broke resistance and or the inducement? It was this candle, right? What was the candle that caused the push? This candle right here. Was this an OB? No. But what will you learn from me? All wicks are OBs, right? So this right here would actually be your re-entry, right? Because the candle didn't make an OB, that's okay. We have a fat wick right here that's basically telling us what, that there are OBs and imbalance within this area. So if we wanted to re-enter, go right ahead. You could have entered it again right here. All right, now if you watched my video on YouTube, right, you could be patient and do what? Wait for order flow, right? So if you weren't able to get into this position here, that's okay. Wait for this candle, right, that caused the break of this structure point here to also get a break of structure, right? Once we have that break of structure, look, we have another OB with an imbalance. It's a nice doji candle too, to really show that there's imbalance in the market. We could have gotten into more buys here, right? And I don't always like the third OB that comes after, but we again had another break a structure here, right? Yeah, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and enter again. And I think I did. I entered again right here as well. I would not look for this break of structure now. It doesn't really seem to be that important to me. Although what I would look to see at these points here are really possible areas for price to reverse. Am I going to trade? No, I'm going to, again, continue and try to hold up to here. If I were to trade these, I take it back. Don't look for the reversal, look for continuations. Why? Because look at the time, we're at a session. So when we're at a session, usually what has happened in New York, we'll maintain into the next day in Frankfurt or London. Hopefully this helps you guys understand how I got into these entries. Again, let me just walk you through how did I get into these entries here. Well, look on the 10-minute, 13-minute, doesn't matter. Here was our bullish engulfing, right? It wasn't until this candle closure here that I knew to start looking for buys, right? Or confirmed buys, right? And this was the OB, right? That was formed, right? And then price came back into that OB, came actually down into my 13-minute refinement here and rocketed. All right, so that's how I was able to get that entry. And hopefully these were explained well enough too. If you have extra questions, put them down in the VIP chat or DM me personally. And yeah, basically, if any of my one-on-ones need extra help, also let me know and I'll get on a session with you. So yeah,